All right. Well, speaking of movies, we're gonna talk about some of the stuff we've been watching and doing for the past week, and then we'll get into some of our Comic Con news that we kind of handpicked. Um, and I can kick it off. So last week after the show, I went on down to Oklahoma Town and watched. I watched me a sequel. I watched Twisters, 2024 with the
This is a
Glenn
great segue
Powell.
for me.
Uh, Let me
That
tell
man,
you,
that man is
Twisters. Whew, yeah, that dude is on fire right now.
Glenn
Yeah.
Powell's on fire.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Tom Cruise a lot, but he also has weird proportions. I think he's got a very large head, um, and he has to be shot from certain angles. Otherwise, he looks weird. I think.
I think that's what makes people in movies more better looking. Like when they have the head's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's
Then
proportionately a little bit larger than his body. Like it looks weird. I think.
okay. Well, I haven't measured
Anyway,
Glenn Powell, but
But you will.
Glenn, give me a cowl.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah.
a
if I
call,
ever
Glenn.
meet
Let's
him,
talk about this.
yeah, if I ever meet him, for sure.
Have like a
yeah.
cloth tape measure in your pocket at all times. Like Glenn Powell's here, and you wrap it around his forehead.
Yeah.
I guess I could. So I know somebody that was in Twisters. I also saw Twisters this week. And he did have a scene with Glenn Powell, so I can ask this guy that I know
Oh, there you go.
if Glenn Powell's head
You
is
know
just
Paul
as giant in
Scheer?
real life. I know Paul Scheer.
Wow,
Paul and I go way back.
I can't believe you've never gotten him on the show. He's my favorite.
So
I love him.
I just want to be part of this conversation. So I want to point out that the only thing I've watched last night is Twister singular. I'd never seen the original, and my wife threw it on, and I'd never seen it all the way through. I'd seen bits and pieces, and I just sat down. It's like, oh, I'll watch Twister. Man, that movie slaps. It is great.
It's so good. I also did
So
rewatch
good.
that this week.
Yeah,
Holds
I mean,
up.
it is full on B movie, but in a good way. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it just like it's just a great.
It's like the ultimate like drive-in movie. It's like the great best. It's like an ultimate summer movie. It's just
There is a drive-in in the movie. I agree.
there's a drive-in movie.
And I was very confused. I thought my TV had screwed up when it cuts to The Shining, and I'm like, I was looking around. I was like, "Are we watching The Shining now? Like, what's going on?" And then it like zooms out. I was like, "Oh fuck!" I was so confused.
Can you imagine a scarier movie to be watching while there's a tornado going on?
No, I cannot. But I love the subtext, which is you think The Shining is scary. Here's nature, right?
You think The Shining is scary. Here's Divorced.
Sign the papers. Is Twisters in any way related to that original story, or is it just we want to do another storm chasing team?
It's the only thing that is like it's in the same universe for sure. That's the only thing, because there's like little things that are like, oh, it's a little callback to the old movie, but it's in no way connected, like characters or anything like that.
Yeah,
the only
none of the characters.
The Twisters are the only thing that connects the film.
The daughter of the first Twister is in this movie, just like Jaws: The Revenge.
Yeah,
it was the son of the shark.
Exactly.
Son of Godzilla, right.
Yeah,
but because the big point of Twister is they have to get this. They get this important data inside the tornado, right? All the little balls go up. So is that used? Like, I feel like the point of Twisters, the movie, is we're using that data somehow, or
that does carry over.
It does.
It's all connected. Yeah,
that's all I wanted. That's like the only through line. So okay, good.
And I think obviously the special effects have gotten a lot better. They also shot on location, so like I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, and like they were hit by a real storm, not an actual tornado or anything. But while they were in Oklahoma shooting, like they had to stop shooting, and the storm came by and destroyed the set that they had put up for the shoot.
Oh my god!
So yeah, I do love the idea of like, and this isn't really a spoiler, but Glenn Powell's character is like this tornado chaser on YouTube, right?
Oh,
Which
okay.
is really fun. Like, I I know there's people that do something similar. I don't know that they do exactly what he was doing in the movie, but there's people that actually chase storms and that's like they do that stuff and they put it on YouTube. So I thought that was interesting, like to kind of bring it into a more contemporary context. Uh, Not really postmodern, if you will, but you know.
You're welcome.
I have watched some of those YouTube videos. They're not nearly as exciting as Glenn Powell makes it seem.
Yeah,
I just
but it's still fun.
I
It's
just
still very
find
fun.
it interesting because I feel like if a movie like Twister or Twisters can win over an audience that live in Oklahoma and Texas, then they've done their job right. Because there's a point in Twister where as the color of the sky changes, I turned to Jen and I was like, how hard was it for them to get the sky the right color in these scenes? Because I know they filmed that also in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
But it's like that's the key. If we've all lived through tornado seasons here. When the sky turns that color, you're like, oh fuck, shit's getting real. So that attention to detail I thought was nice. And
it's eerie because like that scene in the first in Twister when they are like in the eye of the storm or whatever they call it, like the void. I don't know what it's. I don't remember the exact.
But it was like
the funnel or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly what they call it.
Yeah.
And then, as I mentioned before, Twister was the movie that introduced me to having steak and eggs as a breakfast choice, and I've never looked back.
You can do that.
Brilliant! I love it.
I love that. I do love that. So yeah, but Twister is fun. I recommend it.
Also fun.
There we go. Hi everybody.
Hey.
There was the two biggest complaints I've heard about Twisters are the same things that I kind of like complain about is the chemistry. So they make a big point out of, and spoilers, I guess, that the two leads are not super romantically linked. Like at the end, like they don't kiss at the end. They don't smooch at the end of Twisters.
No, sorry.
Which for me, going into it, I was like, what do I care?
Yeah.
But the chemistry they have in that movie, as the movie builds, I was like, how do you go through this whole movie without having them kiss at the end? Like this is the most horny, chaste movie I've ever seen. Like it is so intense. It's not horny is the wrong word. It's like super, like you could tell they're into each other.
I like the fact that they didn't, because it's like they are super horny for tornadoes. And that just bleeds onto their relationship as opposed to
I guess that
horny
I can see
for
that.
each other.
Yeah. They would either in their normal lives, the relationship would fall apart, or they'd have to get one of those tornado chambers in their bedroom. One or the other.
Just as the editor, I would have cut at least 2 or 3 of those glances that they had at one another in order for me to feel okay with them not kissing at the end. And the other thing is they go so out of the way to not mention global warming in this movie.
That's true.
But it's kind of one of those things where they do everything but, where they're just like, there's so many more tornadoes and the weather is getting so worse, like much, much worse year after year after year after year. And
for some reason, and we don't know
why.
Yeah, exactly.
That conversation is had like 4 times throughout the movie, but they still don't say
and and that really sucks because, I mean, okay, I don't want to say that a big summer blockbuster has to be political or advocate for these things. I mean, I'm personally fine with it, but if you're going to have a platform like that, then you just fucking do it. A massive audience is going to come see this movie. Just acknowledge climate change. I mean, come on, Yeah,
you don't even have to, at this point, I think you don't even have to mention like human created climate change. Just be like, look, even if you're one of the, like, you cannot deny that the climate is changing.
Exactly.
So even if you're one of those people who are like, well, humans didn't do it, I could be like, fine, but what are we going to do about it? Like, we can't just stick our heads in the ground about it.
Exactly. Yeah,
Well, we need more
100%.
data. We need more data, Jeff. We don't have all
Yeah.
the data. Just real quick, I want to talk. Can I read you guys the synopsis for Twister, because this is something that just blew my fucking mind.
Okay.
During the approach of the most powerful storm in decades, university professor Dr. Joe Harding, played by Helen Hunt, and an underfunded team of students. They were
Oh, they're
students.
students? Wow,
Those are all.
they never established that in the movie ever. Wow.
It felt to me. I've always loved this movie because it feels like a ragtag team of scientists that just kind of assemble.
Yeah. That's
They're
what
like
I thought they
they're
were.
like the Storm Ghostbusters. They're the Storm.
Oh, and we're just finding out about this like 30 years later or something.
What
Now, there
school
is-
allowed Philip Seymour Hoffman character to stay there for a full semester?
I know, right? He's deeply problematic. His character.
Listen, nobody cared about that in the 90s. All right.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's absolutely true.
A lot of people still don't care about it.
This is really dumb, by the way, but I made such a big point of it to my wife, and we started laughing about it. One detail in Twister I thought was really, really interesting because it didn't need to be there, but I felt like they were doing their job right. I guess spoiler for a film that's almost 30 years old. At the end, when they realize the way to get them up is to attach like the metal fins to them, and they're cutting up all the Pepsi cans. If you look really carefully, at least 3 or 4 of the team all have like bloodied hands because they're just getting cut the shit up, like trying to like cut these cans open. And I really love that detail because it didn't need to be there, but you see it like at least 3 or 4 times. So.
Hey,
yeah, that's a great.
Jean de Bon was not messing around, all right?
No, he was not. Yeah, I know. It's pretty fascinating. So
the one part that makes me laugh about Twister is how they keep talking about how Cary Elwes is in it for the money. Like
I know
he's
right?
a storm chaser for them. I was like, is there a lot of money in meteorology? I don't know if that's the.
I love Cary Elwes, but the worst thing in Twister is his accent, and almost to the point where I wondered if they dubbed him because it doesn't sound. I mean, I know he's British and I know he can do an American accent. I've seen him do it a number of times, but his weird Louisiana accent is terrible. Like it's not good. So,
which is interesting because a lot of British actors say like Southern accents are easier because there's a lot more emphasis they could put on some of the syllables and stuff. Interestingly enough, David Cornsweet plays the Carrie Ewells type of character in the Twister.
Okay.
Which I didn't even know it was him until the credits hit. So that man can definitely hide behind a pair of glasses or a hat, or so. Like, I will definitely believe that Clark Kent and Superman are not the same person. Just last thing I'll touch on this. Jean de Bon also directed Speed and Speed 2 Cruise Control, which I like both movies in different ways. Lara Croft Tomb Raider from 2003, The Haunting from 1999. So the dude's got it. And then the biggest thing is that how do you get Bill Paxton to choose between Helen Hunt and Jamie Gertz in the 90s? Like, come on.
I was having the hardest time because I was having all these 80s flashbacks to Jamie Gertz, and then I had to IMDb. I'm like, what has she done in like 20 years? Like, I couldn't think of anything.
Apparently, she's married, and her and her husband co-own like part of the Atlanta Hawks or something. So she's doing all right.
She owns a sports franchise or something. Yeah,
good for her. Fine. That's awesome. I mean, it was just funny because I was like looking, I was like, is that Jamie Gertz? Like, I was just totally blown away.
The first thing on Google when you Google Jamie Hurst, like, you know how it is, like people also ask.
Oh yeah.
The first question is, why is Jamie Gertz so wealthy?
It's called marrying well, I assume. So, or probably
have you seen the sitcom Still Standing? I mean, come on.
No, I haven't.
Oh, she's in it with Mark Eddy from Game of Thrones. It was when that whole sitcom with the funny husband and the beautiful wife and things happen that everybody loves Raymond. So, all right, let's move on.